Funding is provided in part by the Institute of Museum and Library Services through the Library of Michigan. Hello, my name is Clifton. I work with the Digital Navigator program at Trenton Veterans Memorial Library in Trenton, Michigan. The program provides one-on-one support and training in technology for the library's patrons. This video is part of a series where we're going to explore some of the most common issues that are raised during those sessions and hopefully provide some helpful tips along the way. If you find this video helpful, please be sure to like and subscribe to the library's channel for more great content in the future. That being said, let's go ahead and get started. In this video, we're going to take a quick look at creating and editing bookmarks in a web browser. Now, for this demonstration, I'm using a laptop that's running the latest version of Windows 11, and I'm going to be demonstrating in both Mozilla Firefox and Google Chrome. To get started, I'm going to open a browser. I'm going to start with Firefox. I'll take my mouse, place it over the icon for Firefox that I've pinned in my taskbar, the shortcut, and left click. Once the browser is open, you can see that I have my homepage set to the library's website, and I want to add it as a bookmark. To do that, I'm going to take my mouse up to the address bar, and on the right-hand side, you can see there is a star. If I place my mouse there for a moment, you see we get the tooltip text, bookmark this page. It also shows the keyboard shortcut. I'm going to go ahead and left-click on the star. And you can see we get a small window that pops up. It says Add Bookmark. Now, a couple things I want to point out in this window that I often see people skip over is it's typically best to rename the bookmark that you're creating because the default names are typically a little bit long, and that can create issues later when you're trying to organize or find a specific bookmark. It can also take up more room on your bookmark bar. We see that outside of the name, we can also choose a location. The options include bookmarks menu, other bookmarks. You can also set up your own folders and organize bookmarks, especially as you get more bookmarks. That's certainly something that you want to do. In order to make sure this shows up in our bookmarks bar, I'm just going to leave it at bookmarks toolbar, which is the default. And I'm going to go ahead and edit the name. And in this case, I'm going to go ahead and just shorten it to TVML for Trenton Veterans Memorial Library. I'm going to go ahead and left click on Save. Now you might notice a couple things. One is that star will remain filled blue on pages that you have bookmarked. And you can see that now in our bookmark bar, we have the bookmark for the library's website. If I were to left click on this, you can see the page reloads. Again, that's because we're already there. Let's go ahead and bookmark another site. Let's do the Library of Michigan. I'm going to go ahead after searching and open up the Library of Michigan's homepage. After doing so, I'm going to again bring my mouse cursor up to the star in the address bar and left click. This time, I'm actually going to leave the name as it is, Library of Michigan. Again, make sure my location is set where I want it. In this instance, the bookmarks toolbar. And I'm going to go ahead and click on Save. All right, so now you can see that we have two different bookmarks, one for the Library of Michigan and one for the Trenton Veterans Memorial Library's website. If I were to click, again, left click on that bookmark, takes us back to the library's page. And again, you can see that we're able to now access both of the websites that we've made bookmarks for very quickly without having to type anything in. And again, this can become really useful, especially for sites that you frequent. I'll go ahead now and close out of Firefox, and I will open Google Chrome. I'm just going to search for it in my taskbar. And I'm actually going to hit return or enter on my keyboard to open it. Though I could also have used my mouse to select the search result and left click on it. Now let's go ahead and you can see previous searches here. I'm going to go ahead and select the library's name that I've searched previously. I'm going to go ahead and left click on the top search result. And once on the library's homepage, I'm going to go ahead and just like in Firefox, I'm going to come up to the right of the address bar and I'm going to left click on the Bookmark This tab. You can see that again, like Firefox, we have a star that is filled blue, and we have essentially the same options. We can name our bookmark, or we can choose a folder or where we'd like to place it. I'm going to go ahead and this time, rather than completely renaming it, I'll simply edit the name that is already there. Down to Trenton Veterans Memorial Library. I'll go ahead and click on Done. And after doing so, you can see we now have that bookmark listed in our Bookmarks toolbar. One of the reasons I left it long in this instance was to demonstrate what happens when you have a long name to your bookmark. You can see that it ends here in ellipsis and it cuts off part of the bookmark. So just something to keep in mind. Let's go ahead and I'll search for the Library of Michigan. I'll go ahead and left click on that top search result, and let's also bookmark this page. Following the same procedure we did before, I'm going to take my mouse, bring it up to the star in the address bar, and left click on it. I'll go ahead and leave the name just as I did before, and make sure it's in the bookmarks bar, and then I'll go ahead and left click on Done. So you can see that we now have both of the bookmarks that we just made, which allows us to very quickly open and go between various web pages that we want, again, to access frequently. So I'm going to go ahead now and close out of Chrome. I'll reopen Firefox. And you can see that, again, the library's website is my homepage, and that star is still filled blue because it is something we've bookmarked previously. But let's say that we wanted to edit or remove a bookmark. For example, let's say that I did not like what I named this. I can place my mouse over this star here, left click, and you can see now instead of add bookmark, we have the option to edit our bookmark, which includes changing the name, includes changing the location, and it also allows us to remove the bookmark. So if we place our mouse over remove bookmark and we left click, you can see that bookmark is now gone. Let's go ahead and I will click on the Library of Michigan's bookmark and do the same for this. You can see again, the stars indicating we have this page bookmarked. I'm going to left click on it, and again, I'm going to hit remove bookmark. One thing to note is, well, I'll go ahead and re-bookmark this page, save. If for whatever reason you don't see your bookmarks toolbar here, typically under the settings for most browsers, I'll go ahead and click on these three horizontal lines in Firefox. You can see we get additional options here. Under bookmarks, you can see that we have an option to hide the bookmarks toolbar. I'll go ahead and left click on that, and that's now gone. If I want to show the bookmarks toolbar, I'm going to again left click on those three horizontal lines. I'm going to come down to bookmarks and left click, and then we now have the option to show the bookmarks toolbar. So I'll left click on that, and again we can see our bookmarks toolbar. Let me close out of Firefox. I'll go ahead and open Chrome again just so I can demonstrate there as well. And in Chrome, you can see we have our bookmarks bar showing. I'll go ahead and again open up the Library of Michigan site. In Chrome, rather than the three lines, horizontal lines, we have these three dots that are arranged vertically that give us more options. So I'm going to place my mouse cursor over that, over those dots. I'm going to left click. You can see we get a lot of additional options here. And one of them is bookmarks and lists, which again further displays more options. And And here we have the option to show or to hide the bookmarks bar in the same way that we did in Firefox. I'm going to go ahead now and close out of the browser. So again, that was creating and editing bookmarks. I know that I just demonstrated in a couple of browsers here, but for the most part, that process is the same in most browsers and operating systems. For more information, please be sure to check out the video's description and to look for more videos in this series. Thanks so much for watching.